MMA Now, powered by Film On TV Networks.
I'm David Kano with MMA Now, and right now we're on location in Las Vegas, Nevada for Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward, pound for pound, who is the best. And before we get into this, this will be for the pound for pound title right now. Chocolatito is, they have him number one, and Triple G and Canelo are somewhere in there, but make no mistake about it, I think this will define who is number one. But again, let's talk about what happened this past week, a week ago, and even this weekend, a week ago. We have a new president, and I don't want to get hung up on this, but I did some tweets about this. I don't think this is a big deal. I had no dog in the fight per se. There was no one that I was particular for. Someone that I would have written in is dead. Ulysses S. Grant, so that wasn't going to happen. I just think that what's going on right now with the protests that are turning violent and causing damage to the city is counterproductive for what this country is all about. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But UFC 205 was also over the weekend. Big event, New York City, first time ever, where there was 3 title fights. The pay-per-view numbers aren't quite in as of yet, and the UFC doesn't disclose exact pay-per-view numbers, but it does look like that this should be number one all time. Let's talk about the card a little bit. Khabib versus Michael Johnson in the lightweight division. This was a fight that really could have went either way. Michael Johnson stayed a little bit busier than Khabib, and Khabib kind of just mauled Michael Johnson in the end in the second round, being able to make Johnson's tap to a Kimura, and which propels him and Tony Ferguson to the number one contender. I think that would be a great fight to make. Ferguson coming off a decisive victory over Rafael dos Anjos, make this fight, and then obviously we have to see what happens with Conor next year. Also on the card that we had Raquel Pennington versus Miesha Tate. And Miesha Tate retired after the fight. Pennington put it on her, won a decision, and really looked pretty good against her former coach on The Ultimate Fighter. Miesha Tate, what will her legacy look like? What will she go down in history? Well, she fought Ronda Rousey 2 times, losing both times, but she was a Strikeforce champion, and she was a pioneer for women's MMA, one of those ones along with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano and even Cyborg. Frankie Edgar and Jeremy Stevens fought at a featherweight match that looks like that also may have title implications in addition to Anthony Pettis and Max Holloway. Frankie Edgar was able to win a decision over Jeremy Stevens after he fought Jose Aldo and didn't really look too good against the former featherweight champion. Yoel Romero and Chris Weidman, the battle of 185 to who gets the next shot at Michael Bisping. Weidman coming off a neck fusion surgery, and Yoel Romero over not so good victory over Jacare was going to decide who took on the count, and Weidman looked good early on. He looked good in the first round, which I thought he won the first round. Second round, he was starting to get taken down, and then finally finished with the TKO flying knee, finished it on the ground. And where does this put Chris Weidman? It puts him having to work his way back up. Weidman, I don't know if he came out back a little bit too early. A neck injury isn't something to play around with. And also the New York Athletic Commission, State Athletic Commission, is suspending Weidman for 60 days, and he will not be allowed to compete in New York until 2017, if he even competes in New York in the near future. First title fight was Joanna Jędrzejczyk against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and it's a fight that I felt that would go the full distance, the full 5 rounds, and it did go 5 rounds. I thought Joanna was going to just be able to have her way with Karolina, but Karolina showed her some grit, some will, and even some power in the 4th round, catching Joanna, stunning Joanna, rocking Joanna, and where it actually got a little bit hairy. I thought she had a chance to finish Joanna. The ref was looking in intently to see if she was able to intelligently keep on defending herself and keep on going. Joanna eventually recovered and was able to take the 5th round, but it was a very entertaining fight. I still think Claudia Gadelha is still the clear #1 contender, still next to Joanna. a fight between Claudia and Carolina would be interesting to see what happens there in that 115 division. Ioano has said that she wants to be a champion at 125 as well. That is a division which is not official yet. There have been some unofficial fights at that weight class, so we'll see what happens there. In the co-main event, we saw Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Tyron Woodley for the welterweight championship belt, and people were mixed on this. On Twitter, we put out a poll. Wonderboy had the edge from the fans, but Woodley had his own contingent of fans as well that thought he might take it. One of the best fights of the year, and the fourth round was maybe one of the best fights in MMA history, which I put out there. The first round, Woodley was able to able to take Wonderboy down at the end of the round. He took the first round. Second round, Wonderboy came back from that. Third round, Wonderboy also took it from a point standpoint. Fourth round, Wonderboy was rocked with a right by Tyron Woodley. Was all over the cage. Woodley went in for the kill, throwing uppercuts, and Wonderboy has a chin of granite. I thought it was going to be called off. Eventually took him to the ground to try to put him into a guillotine, which was a very tight guillotine again. I mean, that's a guillotine that people don't usually get out of. People are saying that Wonderboy has a smaller neck and a smaller head, so he was able to weather the storm and pull out from there. But nonetheless, an entertainment fight that went 47-47 on two judges' scorecards with a majority draw. That fight is what Dana White said it will be next, and it's interesting to see if that's the fight next, or will McGregor step up once again to look at another title fight, which brings us to McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. McGregor has obviously done things in the sport that no one else has done. Now he's the first two-weight division champion simultaneously. He's supposed to give up a belt. We don't know what's going to happen with McGregor. His big announcement was that he's having a baby and that he wants a new deal with the UFC. He wants some equity. He wants something substantial to up his payday. I tweeted out that I think he's looking for a $40 million payday per fight in the future, where he's probably making, upwards to around $15 million right now with pay-per-views and purse and even sponsorships. So we'll see what happens with that. He'd certainly be the first one to deserve that for what he's done for the company, especially in the time of transition after being sold for $4 billion. That fight, a lot of people have talked about how it went. Alvarez has come out and said he didn't fight the right fight. That wasn't even the game plan for his 10-week training camp. He was supposed to circle to his left and use his wrestling instead of getting into a boxing match with Conor. So, Conor, it's interesting what's going to happen with McGregor. He has a bunch of fights that he could go with. There's Khabib online. There's Ferguson. There's Woodley at welterweight, where he had some words with Tyron Woodley. There's also a potential trilogy fight. There's so many different things that can go on. It'll be a soap opera, and that's one of the reasons why I think McGregor is a headline and a name. People want to know what he's going to do next, what's going to happen, because he's so unpredictable.